Okay, so I know I've been talking about executive functioning all week. We spoke about, how to take good notes, how to organize yourself for studying. Today, I want to talk a little bit about effective study habits. And there's so much I can go over here, so I'm going to kind of keep it brief and just go over some simple tips. If you're interested in, really digging deep and getting into some, really good strategies, reach out to me and I can certainly talk to you about other ways to do it. But just to give you ideas, the first thing is this, right? Biggest mistake a lot of people make is they think the best way to study is to reread. And that's just not true. Rereading your notes, you're not going to retain the information. You need to be able to manipulate that information, right? And that's why I was talking about earlier in the week about study guides and cutting it up and moving that information around and creating diagrams and writing in your notes different ways, dates and definitions, using that information and writing it out in different ways so you're manipulating that information differently than how it was presented to you because that's how you absorb it, right? So, because it's really important. There's three key things, right? Repetition, right? Repetition helps. If you repeat information enough times, but by manipulating that information, we'll talk a little bit about what that means in a few seconds here. But that's important. Variety, right? Don't study the same subject all night. It's important to move around because believe it or not, if you actually study a few subjects at a time, you actually have a better chance of retaining that information. When you focus on just one subject, right, you'll get tired of that subject. It's hard. Like your brain needs a change, right? So studying for a few different subjects is really important. And then lastly, the spacing, right? Spacing your study out. That's why it's said, I think on Tuesday, plan at least 3 days in advance. Don't just cram for an exam. You need to play it. You need to space out your study time to see if what you actually knew on Monday you still know on Tuesday, right? And do you know more on Wednesday? So, because the idea is, by the time you get to the day before the test, you should know all the information, right? And if you have good study habits, you will. So that's what you want. But here's the thing: there's really 5 simple steps with studying. The first is you have to know what you need to know, right? You have to know what material is going to be on the test. You have to know, what do I need to know to do good on this exam, right? That's important. The second thing is you have to know what you know and know what you don't know. Because what you already know it. And I think I said this yesterday. Don't waste your time studying for it earlier in the week. Just study the stuff you don't know. Near the end, when you have the test and it's the night before, you can study everything and just kind of recap and make sure you understand everything. But if you already know it, you already know it. Don't waste your time studying what you don't know. Plan your times out, right? Like I said, plan the study time. One thing that's really important is if you have homework, study first, right? A lot of times we do homework first and then we're tired and we're like, oh, now I got to study. Study first. Get the studying out of the way, okay? Make sure you have effective study tools. So, and again, there's so much information I can give you, but there's so many different types of flashcards you can make, right? That would help. There's a ton of flashcard games that you can make. I mean, I'll share one with you. Like, say you have definitions, right? This is great for languages or for if you have to memorize like the periodic table, right? So you have a list of cards, right? And one side, say, is the formula, the abbreviation for the metal or for the compound, right? And the other side is what it is, right? You start with a stack and you go through them, and the ones you don't know, okay, they go into stack 2, right? Now you go through stack 2 again. The ones that you don't know, they go into stack 3. And you do it and do it and do it until all of them are done, right? Now you go backwards. You start at the end stack. And if you know those, they get stacked onto the stack after that, right? And eventually what happens is you'll notice you're going over the things that you already know less frequently, but the things you don't know, you're going over more and more and more. And then when you go backwards, you could be going over them 8 to 10 times. And by the time you're back to the front, you know them all. So I know it's a little complicated to explain without showing you. And like I said, reach out to me. I'll be happy to explain it to you and go through with you. But that's one idea. Quizlet's great. I mean, I personally love flashcards. I think they work better because you can make your own. You can make it work for you. But Quizlet's a great app as well. We talked about study guides, right? Like writing out your study guide or cutting out the answers and the questions and kind of playing match, right? Like it just makes it more fun, but also you're manipulating that information, so it's going to get absorbed much better, right? So those are a few things I wanted to share with you. Now, the other thing is when you want to study, right? There's 3 things that we're going to talk about, right? We talked about teacher-provided study guides, the ones you create from your textbook, or the ones that you do online, right? So here's the thing. I talked to you the other day about taking a blank copy, right, and making other copies so you can continue to fill it out, or you can do that cut up game, right? Don't forget to do that. That makes studying fun. It actually will help. It's such an easy way to help you be successful studying. You don't realize it, right? The other thing is when you're doing it from your textbook, right? Like we talked about jotting down key definitions, keywords, all that. Make games out of it, right? As a matter of fact, one of the greatest things you can do is get a piece of paper and put questions, and then get another piece and put answers, right? And literally, and number them. You can number it 1 to 20, 1 to 25, whatever you want. Write out the question to what you're studying, write out the answer. So like the notes from your textbook that you took, right? If you did what I said yesterday, you probably already did this by creating the study guide while you're taking your notes. But if you didn't, or you didn't have time, or it was just hard to keep up, take that information and make question and answer sheets, right? Here's 25 questions, here's 25 answers, right? That's a great way to study. And then the same thing, you could cut that up and, play a game with it. So just good examples. So I want to just kind of share with you some examples by subject, right? So math, right? Flashcards are great for math, right? For formulas, right? Understanding formulas. You can write out the process for each question, right? Giant Post-its are great, right? Use giant Post-its to put the formulas on, just so you have them up there so you can look at them, right? And, you kind of play match game with that. Or doing your practice problems, right? That's important. And then redoing your homework problems, right? Usually for math, it's just repetitive. Your teacher's giving you homework every night, right? Do 10 questions, do 12 questions. Just go back and do them, Again, photocopies, right? Like when you get your homework at the beginning of the week, make a photocopy of it so you have the questions again, right? And you just keep doing those questions over because it's all about repetition, especially with math, right? Vocabulary. Flashcards are great, right? Or, coming up with anagrams, right? Like I know sometimes, we have to memorize certain terms, right? That go together, right? Figure out a word or, a phrase that each letter starts with. And you know what I'm talking about, just to kind of make that work. Or do a mock test with like matching words, right? Like here's the word, here's the definition, right? Write it all out, throw it on a table, pick one up. Oh, here's the definition. Which word goes with it, right? It's a great way to study instead of just sitting there and going, this goes to this, this goes to this. You won't absorb it the same way. You will absolutely absorb it when you play like a match game or something like that. For history, create a timeline for dates, right? If there's dates, actually write out a timeline. This happened here, then this happened, then this happened. Write down as a timeline because you're going to visualize that timeline. You're going to absorb that information because you're manipulating that information. You're not just remembering dates. You're seeing it visually on a timeline. It's going to be a lot easier if you remember those dates. Switch subjects. I told you, make sure you don't study for the same subject all night. Switch it around. Study a little here, study a little there. The other thing, too, is, don't study in the same place. Maybe you study for one subject in the kitchen and another one in your bedroom. I don't care if you sit on the toilet, if you want to study vocabulary on the toilet because you like sitting in the bathroom. But change it around. Study in different places, right? Change your environment. That actually, believe it or not, that has an impact on your ability to focus. Study groups, get some study groups. Talk to people that are in the same class. Study with each other. Talk it out loud, right? Sometimes if it's say it's English or social studies, right? And you're going to have to write an essay about a particular topic, right? Talk about that topic. Just speak it out loud. Even record yourself if you want, right? But talk it out. Actually talk as if you're writing, right? Sometimes just doing that will help you absorb the information. It'll just kind of help you organize your ideas. But these are all such important things. So, just to recap from the beginning of the week, take good notes, block out your time, right? Really block it out when you're going to study. Know what you're going to study. Know what materials that you need to have with you to be prepared to study. And then when it's time to study, use these strategies. Use flashcards. Use the match game. Use the rewriting the lesson plan over and over, right? All of these things are going to help you absorb the information. It's so much better than just sitting there and rewriting your notes over and over and over and over again. You will eventually get it, but it's tedious. It's going to make you want to avoid it, and at least this makes it a little more exciting. And I promise you, if you follow some of these tips, you're going to be amazed at how much faster you absorb the information, how much more comfortable you're going to feel with the information, and your grades are going to show it. So, hope this helped, and I will talk to you all soon. Have a great day.